Nivedita University welcomes you to this unique Witching Hour webinar that promises us to take into the chilling and thrilling world of Gothic and fantasy literature. I would like to invite the convener of the webinar, Dr. Shubir Kumar Dhar, mentor and advisor of Department of English, to introduce us to this webinar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sriyoshi, for this very good introduction. I want to begin. I just want to take 2 or 3 minutes, maybe, and I want to, tell you something about how this webinar happened. First of all, this is possible, obviously, because of the digital environment in which we are now present and in which we are functioning, burgeoning, as a matter of fact. You see, I think that if I wanted to hold a seminar, a face-to-face seminar, starting at 10 o'clock at night, I think even the Vice Chancellor would not have given me or given us the permission to do that. So you can do that. And the whole idea of what a witching hour webinar is that we move into the wee hours of the night or morning, if you want, so that we can discuss. And the reason is, of course, simple. People do spend a lot of time, the whole night, maybe in listening to music, musical stories, for example, in listening to religious discourses, in listening to songs like bhajans and kirtans and things like that. So it struck me, why not do a seminar at this time? Because once again, we are all night owls, and our intellect happens to be very sharp after or around 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock. So this idea came about. And of course, all the team members of DESNU literally jumped up enthusiastically and joined us to make this thing. DESNU, I'm sure, for those who are not part of DESNU and those who are listening in or participating now, DESNU happens to be a very young department in a very new university. In fact, you see, this university celebrated its second foundation day only 5 days back. And yet, you see, we are burgeoning, we are really going forward very fast, thanks to the leadership of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Jyoti Chattopadhyay. He was telling us the other day that the university, which is just a little over 2 years old, almost 3 years, not really 3 years as yet, you have 9 different programs running, from diplomas to degrees, BA degrees, MA degrees, that is UG degrees, postgraduate degrees, up to the PhD level. That's not bad going for a university which is so young, so dynamic, so new. And DESNU is a part of this happening university. We like to say that in DESNU, we not only teach, but we make teaching something which is fun. Because you see, our students are also just as much enthusiastic as we are about the whole educational process. And frankly, we, the members of DESNU, all the faculty, all the people associated with DESNU, are really very hardworking, but we don't find it as work because we really enjoy doing what we do. Like tonight. I also must say that all this would not have been possible without the enthusiasm, the support, and the backing of our Honorable Vice Chancellor. Now, for those who don't know him, let me put it this way. Can you think of any other Vice Chancellor in this enormous country of India who would take out the time at 10 o'clock at night, past 10 o'clock at night, as a matter of fact, and agree to give a presentation, an inaugural presentation, which is going to run into maybe even later. So you see, that shows you the once again enthusiasm of our Vice Chancellor. Quite frankly, he's a man for whom I have a great deal of respect and a whole lot of admiration. Thank you, sir, very much for this. And may I also say that I've been hearing him speak on different occasions on different topics. And he is a charismatic speaker. And so we at DESNU are not only happy, you see, but we are actually delighted that he is with us this evening, or this night if you want, and participating in the fantasy and the Gothic deliberations that we are going to launch. Now, a formal Thanksgiving is going to come later, but I just want to add a few words about my personal relationships with the marvelous speakers that we have lined up for you. Professor Ashok Mahapatro of Sambalpur University, all of them are good old friends of mine. I mean, they're not old, but they are long friends of mine. Let's say. For example, Professor Ashok Mahapatro is someone I've been knowing over the years, and I've been most impressed with his erudition. I've been most impressed with his learning, and we've had long discussions, occasionally arguments and disagreements, which is all part of the academic discourse and fun that we have. Similarly, Dr. Indrani Deb. Before Dr. Deb got sucked into administration, she was a very fine scholar. And I know that she still keeps up her scholarly activities, even though she looks after a major college in West Bengal, with all the problems, with all the difficulties, and all the hassles of being a principal of a college in West Bengal. Then again, there are other people. Professor Oporajita Hazra, who I've been knowing for once again many years now, right from the early days when she was she's still very young, but she was even more ridiculously young, I should say. So I know her for a very long time. Pinaki De is once again one of my young friends and a person that I have a wonderful relationship with over the last few years. And finally, there are own DESNU members, MRC, who, as you know, is Dr. Madhuchanda Roy Chaudhary, who is the head of the Department of English at this moment of DESNU. This is something I will tell you confidentially, because I think I'm senior enough to be take you into my confidence. Madhuchandra's nickname among students is, of course, Boss Babe. Which I think is a good epithet, a very descriptive term that he can use about her. And then there's also my other right hand in DESNU, and that is Monikin Kinibasu, Professor Monikin Kinibasu. So you see, you're going to see a bit of DESNU today, and there are people who are behind the scenes. For example, Professor Shudesha Dash, who is responsible for many of the unseen IT protocols that are going on behind this webinar. She was also the designer of the moving poster, which was, I think, quite a hit with everybody. And then we also have Professor Orko Prabhu Chakraborty, till now a very solid and supportive member of DESNU. He also is there behind the scenes, fixing up, I think, looking after, I think, the Facebook live streaming of this webinar. All in all, this is a happy occasion and this is also, in case you forget, this is also a very serious occasion, because you see, we are going to have a lot of fun, but the fun is going to be serious academic fun. We are all academics. We like to discuss, we like to learn, and at the end, maybe at 12:30, quarter to 1 o'clock at night, when we finally ring down the curtain on today's webinar on ghosts and ghouls, witches and wizards, I'm sure we will go to bed with much more information, much more knowledge. And I think that's what I wanted to say. I hope I haven't taken too much time, Sriyoshi. But thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, all of you. And thank you particularly for listening to me. And thank you, sir, for being with us once again.
Thank you.
Sriyoshi, over to you once again, please.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite Professor Dr. Dhrubajyoti Chattopadhyay, Vice Chancellor of Sister Nivedita University, to give the inaugural address of this seminar. Sir.
Okay. Good evening. Looking forward to a really, really exciting and a unique webinar. And I think salute to Professor Dhar and the team. You have really a very, very exciting team. I don't know, Prashant is not here today because I heard Orku is here. I thank Madhuchanda also for always thinking about a lot of different types of unusual programs, and that makes the whole department very vibrant also. Yes, as Professor Dhar said, that the topic of the seminar itself is very, very interesting. And if you look at the number of speakers who are actually going to join us, I really owe a lot to them because they have agreed to be with us in this wee hours to discuss about this Gothic and fantasy literature. So when I came to know from Madhuchanda, Munikinkini and others, and later from Professor Dhar, regarding this seminar on 27th, I thought, yes, Gothic and fantasy literature has always been a very soft corner for me. Now, if we go back that to the different countries throughout the globe, now, every country has got some sort of share to this type of literatures, and that's what I could see, that the different technical sessions are going to cover so many different topics, which has got Harry Potter, Tintin, to a lot of other things also. Now, here I just want to mention that Gothic literature can be traced back to almost 18th century, a time when English civil war is culminating in the Jacobite rebellion. Various collective political memories combined with the deeply rooted cultural fears actually found a way in the form of this literature. Various villains were described or portrayed with these elements or keeping these socio-cultural prototypes in the background. Now, the stories which were developed during that time actually outlined excessive romanticism or excessive terror. However, such type of excessive horrors or deaths were beautifully blended with romanticism in a way that had its own style of creating a genre in the history of literature. So this type of literature became very popular among the English and the German language authors, and more authors were inspired to write such novels, which came to be known as Gothic fictions. Now, the first Gothic author was said to be, if I am not wrong, Horace Walpole, who is said to be the fourth Earl of Oxford, and apart from being a writer, he was an art historian, antiquarian, was also a politician. His novel, The Castle of Otranto, was later subtitled as A Gothic Story and was published in 1764. And after that, we know the large number of authors, which includes Clara Reeve, Anna Radcliffe, William Thomas, Beckford, Matthew Lewis, Edgar Allan Poe, Daphne du Maurier, Annie Rice, Stephen King. All of them are actually coming along with many more. The Dracula by Bram Stoker is definitely something which I loved to read those books, even at this old age. Now, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, to name a few, can also be considered as belonging to this. Now, the Gothic fictions were more enriched with creative imaginations. On the other hand, if you look at the fantasy literature, which represents magic, spells, supernatural forces, mysterious creatures, and this literature is equally popular among the adults and children and has a plot attached to the happenings either in episodes or a single story. It is believed that the fantasy literature took birth in the form of stories and folklore, which took a printed form afterwards. Ancient Greek and Roman writers like Homer and Virgil have a lot of contribution to this fantasy literature. The philosophy of Plato has a great influence in the fantasy genre. India too has its own share in the form of Vedic mythology. The Panchatantra is said to have been composed around 3rd century BC, or in the form of animal fables, which mainly focus on Indian principles on leading a good and balanced life. Panchatantra is said to have influenced Europe and Middle East, And books like Arabian Nights, Midsummer Night's Dream, Macbeth, The Tempest are also said to be influenced by fantasy literature. Now, the Romantic era, late 18th or early 19th century, and its success in rehabilitating imagination was of fundamental importance in the evolution of fantasy and its interest in medieval romances. And this paved the way in creation of many fictional plots at that time. In fact, the Gothic literature was also one its results, and this era is also the predecessor of horror fiction. Definitely, the Victorian era gave a thrust to the fantasy literature and also to dark fantasy, which was another form of horror fiction. The 20th century gave rise to fantasy in the form of science fictions, and the World Wars also contributed to blend this technology with fantasy fictions. And now, in this 21st century, it's still carrying on that legacy and has incorporated elements like changes of lifestyle, age, loss of innocence into the plots to make them look more lifelike. Which one of my favorite one is the Harry Potter. I got so excited when I visited Harry Potter's place in England 3 years back. I was really thrilled where the whole many of its episodes are being actually been they have actually taken these shoots to end. The journey of Gothic and fantasy literature is surely fantastic in all respects, and I believe this webinar will open up new vistas of creative imaginations, which might create many more bestsellers in years to come. With almost close to 100 listeners right now at this time, I believe this witching hour will not be only devil's hour, but an hour filled with wisdom and knowledge to create something new, something which will enchant the readers for the years to come. Thank you, everybody, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful words. Now we move on to our first technical session. This session will be chaired by Professor Shubir Dhar, and I will be keeping the time. So after 15 minutes, I will give a verbal and a friendly warning to everyone to wrap up their papers. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sriyoshi. And may I say that, Sriyoshi is a very strict person when it comes to keeping time. She's done this before in our webinars, and she has a very nice, friendly way of, reminding you that it's time to close, time to draw things to an end. Anyway, once again, 3 papers in the first session, and papers I'm frankly quite excited about because I'm really looking forward to hearing these papers. First of all, we have Professor Ashok Mahapatro, who, as I already told you, is Professor of English in Sambalpur University in Odisha. Professor Mahapatro is one of those rare scholars who has a wide range of interests. And for a very long time, he has been the editor of the Journal of the Department of English of Sambalpur University. And this is a journal of repute. And today, I will leave it to him to make the first initial presentation of today's webinar. Professor Ashok Mahapatro, for you.
Thank you, Professor Suvithor and my friends. I will be very brief in my presentation. I know that this whole topic is so very wide, and it has wide range of forms and experiences. It overlaps with fantasy, grotesque, surrealism, so one cannot be comprehensive one has to be very short. I have also a few slides which I would be showing because I would be dealing with the visual, particularly, and the title is The Other in the Visual Gothic: Location, Visibility, and Ontology. And I'll be showing a few paintings. Uh, of course, in relation to some very well-known Gothic works of fiction. Well, can I take your inputs as I try to my I'll go into well, just a minute. I'm not very tech savvy, That's why I may have problem. Just a minute. Yeah, I want to make some presentation. Yeah. So Vida, if you allow me, I'll ask my son actually to help me out. If you
Yes, definitely, definitely, Dr. Mahapatra. Yeah. Mhm. Yes, just share the screen.
Yeah, but meanwhile, let me give a very brief intro as to what I should be doing. Yeah. Yeah, I guess this is visible now, is it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that Gothic narrative has a visual component, and the Gothic experience of anxiety and fear aroused at the encounter of the other is visually coded. I will be focusing on the other, and the visible figure of the other is ambivalent insofar as it is familiar and yet uncannily familiar. So our encounter with the other is extremely fraught with fear and anxiety. Well, the other at times confronts us as the double, and the Austrian psychologist Otto Rank, if you recall, talked about the term double in his classic essay, The Double, 1914, and Freud's Uncanny, which carries the semantic load of unheimlich, as contrasted with heimlich, unhomey, unfamiliar, untamed, uncomfortable, which is a simple binary opposite of friendly, familiar, tame, intimate. So what is interesting here is the familiar, intimate, comfortable, and domestic, which is not a simple binary of unheimlich, but there is a lot of dynamism, and there is a lot of interaction that goes on between the two. So it is far from a static kind of binary structure. What happens here is that it becomes complicated as the unheimlich entails additional meanings such as the unconcealed secret. What is made known, what is supposed to be kept secret under wraps, is inadvertently revealed as against what is concealed, or withheld from sight and also from others. So secretive, deceitful, private, that's what it is. In other words, the normal and secure is supposedly with lots of unfamiliar, ungainly, distasteful element is repressed. So what we consider normal or secure is only supposedly so. So what comes to play is a kind of dynamic of both unheimlich and heimlich, constituting the uncanny, which can be at the center of much of the Gothic of the late 19th century and the 20th century, which I'll be talking about, particularly some of the visuals. Fear and anxiety, these emerge not merely from the inadvertently cited private, but also darkness, which it dominates any visual scape. The Gothic where inhabits the dangerous, perhaps the thing that is Gothicized, and that's precisely the area where the other resides. It inhabits as invisible. Recall the child in Freud's essay who is threatened by the mother with blindness as his eyes may be taken out by the Sandman. So here the premium is on the visuality or the lack of it. Visuality of the other is far from a simple experience, as tropes of mirrors and doubling ghosts, walks with dolls, inanimate objects coming to life, all these, crowd the visual space and also the narrative space of the Gothic. Further, the repressed, that is the illegitimate or a horrifying aspect of oneself, appears as a mirror image or kind of a doppelganger on the an other that is not external to oneself, but the embarrassing exteriorization of something that was lurking in the depths of oneself. And I'll focus on this part in the rest of my presentation. As for the location we were talking about, the manner in which the genre of the Gothic has undergone changes between, let's say, the 17th century, late 17th century, and later 19th and early 20th century, we observe a curious shift. That's the main point of my presentation. We find a curious shift in the location of the other from a space external to the experiencing subject towards an internal space within the experiencing subject. So the space was stylized to be a spectral locale of fortress, gargoyles, turrets, with speckled spines or flying buttresses, pointed arches, peopled by gnomes, ghouls, goblins, and devilish figures, and diabolical monks, witches, or sorcerers, or sorceresses, embedded in the devil lore, enmeshed at times with theological issues. But gradually, it is an inner psychological and ethical space, or even a historical space, or a regimented space, such as hospital and asylum. From Anne Radcliffe, the trajectory, as we can imagine, moves towards the historicized or the pathologized or even the aestheticized Gothic, respectively. So along this movement, the other also undergoes interesting ontological changes from the pure beasts and demons to a beastly and demoniacal aspect of man. So before I show the paintings, the relocation of the other from an exterior space to an interior space deep within oneself, and back to the exterior, I wish to talk about the relation of power between the subjective self and the other, which is skewed against the subjective self in its perception, and the other could be an ill-intentioned and maybe powerful enough to be harmful, or perhaps it may well be it may be a well-intentioned functioning to indict the self. So it's this kind of power relation in which fear inheres for us is common knowledge. Motivation for power is to overcome one's own fear and to foster fear in the others through exercise of power or threat. Such exercise. So we have lots of political theories and theories of fear as a social behavior in the presence of various forms of power in society. I'm not going to go into all that, but we might talk about Foucault, who talks about in a lively conversation with Michel Perrault and Pierre Baruch, he called the eye of power, where he is discussing ideas of visibility, transparency, and panopticon as formulated by Rousseau and Bentham, insofar as these structure the power of gaze, which is necessary for control, and which is a kind of a ethical power to prevent crime, particularly when a certain space is under surveillance. So it has a certain ethical force, and a lighted place discourages crime committed, which is always committed by illegitimate power. And the lighted place itself is the domain as well as the effect of legitimate power. Further, a visibility is necessary to individuate the other and police him or her, as Foucault argues. I'm not going to go into a very lengthy quotation that he talks about in this Eye of Power. If we look at, can you see this Heimlich and unheimlich dynamics? Can you see it on the screen, which I discussed just now?
No, we
Well,
see that
this
page
is what,
only.
just one page. And this is Michel Foucault says, it's a very long quote. I'm not going to go into it. What he says
But
that, well,
we are just seeing the title page. Could you come to the slide
okay,
that you want to highlight?
okay.
Ashok,
Just a minute in that case. Okay.
and Ashokda, if you could
Yeah.
please make it full screen, it would be better for us to see.
Okay, just a minute.
This is to Doctor. So if you need
Yes.
some help with the
Okay.
technicalities,
No,
you can email me the slides.
Excuse me. Could you please
Yes, sir.
repeat
This
what
is
you
Moni
said?
Kingsley.
Yeah. Yes, Moni. Please tell me. Yeah. Can you? Yeah. Just a minute.
So if you need any help with the technical aspect, you can
Yes.
email the slide to me, and
Okay.
I can present it on your behalf. If
Okay.
it
Yeah.
is
Please.
some problem with the presentation, we can sort that out, sir.
Yes, that would be really great. Yeah, but that will take time, I'm
I'll just
afraid.
put
Yeah.
my email address in the chat
Yeah.
box. Right, sir.
Yeah. Your email ID, could you please send me that?
Yes, sir. I'll do that right away.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I've given that.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. Just a minute. Yeah. Compose. Yes. Did you okay, did you send it to me through the chat box? Is that
Yes,
so?
sir. I sent it to you and sent it to you via the Google Meet chat box.
Okay, Google Meet chat box. All right, I'm totally at a loss as to how to go about it. Okay, just give me a little bit of time. Yeah, what I can do is, okay, I'll go there. Yeah, just a minute. Here's the chat box.
Moni Kingsley, if I can add a comment, You could just send a test mail to Ashokda so that he can reply
Yes. Yeah.
reply
I'll do
the
that. I'll do that now.
yeah.
Moni, why don't you just tell me spell your email? I am just typing it out. Okay, that would
Okay,
be the
it's
best.
MONI. It's MONI KIN
Okay, MONI
KIN
Moni KINKINI. Okay,
dot B
at the rate
at SNUNIV dot
dot
AC
dot.
in. SNUNIV.
I'm sorry.
I'll send you an email.
I just
Sir,
Please, yes.
dot B for bat, dot B.
for Basu
Uh,
Dot B.
yeah, since it is a nocturnal
B.
seminar, so I would prefer bat. Uh,
Prashant, let
at
me
the rate,
just here.
at the rate,
Prashant, let me put up here.
Okay.
SNU
SNU dot AC dot in.
no,
So
sir, SNU SNUNIV SNUNIV.
SNU.
I sent an email.
Sister Nivedita University,
Okay.
SNUNIV.
Okay,
Yeah,
NIV.
also,
Then
sir, I sent you an email. If you could just
Yeah,
Okay.
dot
refresh
AC
your
dot in.
email, you will get the test mail. Like Oparajita
Yes, I
ma'am
got it.
said, I'll test you an email. Yeah.
Okay. Just a
I
minute.
just sent
Yeah,
you
I
the
got the.
test email. So just
Yeah,
reply in that email and it will come.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I got it. Just a minute. Okay, dot AC dot in. Yeah, I'm terribly sorry for this, but just a minute. I'm sending you. I'm just sending you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I will be. It's just loading. It will take some time, but before that, let me talk to you a little about the first painting that I'm going to show here is The Nightmare, which actually was painted by the Anglo-Swiss artist Henry Fuseli, and it's very interesting. It's taking some time, I'm afraid. Yeah, the whole thing is because it seems to have a lot of lot of.
Just a note of query. If
No,
someone else has a
it's
PPT,
almost.
speakers have PPT, please send it to me via email, because in case there is a glitch, we can operate it from the back end.
Yeah.
So my email ID has already been written in the chat box. So if anyone has a PPT, they can please send it to me via email. Then we can operate as it from the back end.
Yeah. Moni, could you please check your mailbox?
Yes, sir, I will.
Did you get it?
I haven't received.
No, not yet. Okay,
No,
okay.
your screen is visible to us. So
In that case, let me tell my son once again to help me with this. Yeah, but I send it
yes,
to
I just
you.
got it. I just got it. Yes.
Okay, yeah, all right. That's great. Yeah. So, so the first painting that I'm going to talk to you about is called The Nightmare. Before you see it, let me describe it to you. It shows a woman in deep sleep with her own below, with a demonic and ape-like incubus couched on her chest, and the painting, uh, paintings dreamlike, it's very dreamlike and very hauntingly erotic, and it is kind of suggestive of perhaps female orgasm. And it was a popular success at one point in time, though not altogether with a sense of outrage felt by the highbrow art critics. Mani, could you show that? Hello? Hello?
So you will have to stop your presentation for me to start mine, because Google Meet doesn't let
Okay, all right.
people present it.
Okay, yeah, all right. I stopped it.
Yes, sir. I will just.
So it's called The Nightmare. It was painted in 1781.
Is it visible, everyone?
It's loading, I guess, in me at least. Well, I don't know about the others.
And if you can,
I will. Is it the full screen mode now?
Yeah.
No, it is. The picture has disappeared. So I think you need to do something once again.
what about your sharing the screen?